What's up, everyone? James Lynch here. I wanted to do a video on this Colby Covington, Ian Garry back and forth on social media. They're trying to get a fight together, and I also want to talk about a potential matchup between the two. So we'll start first with Colby Covington. He's the one who did this response 5 days ago. I know I'm a little bit late on this, but Garry did release another video today, so we can talk about that as well. And first, I'll just say, even before we watch this, the timing of this is a little off. Ian Garry fought Jeff Neal on February 17th. It is March 18th now. We minus a week here. We're still talking early March. To me, Colby should have done this right after Ian Garry had his fight with Jeff Neal. I think the timing would have been a little bit better. But nonetheless, either's booked right now. So, this is still relevant. But let's watch Colby's video first. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I'll go through most of it and give my thoughts as the video plays.
America's champ, the people's champ, Donald Trump's favorite fighter. We're in beautiful sunny South Florida. Most people, they work 60 years just to get a taste of the good life. This is what I live every day. We just shot 18 holes at Trump International, West Palm Beach. Now we're out here selling on 7 figures.
Yeah, I don't need to see all this. I personally think Colby should have just started the video going after Ian Garry, but that's just my two cents on that.
So let me teach you all a lesson about how you bait someone.
So that even too, a little bit lame, honestly. I think, I kind of get that he's out on a yacht and he's kind of bragging about that and trying to bait someone. Again, I think that could be a little bit better. I don't know how you would do that. I'm obviously not like a comedy writer or anything, but I think the whole bait thing's kind of like just like a dad joke almost. You know what I mean?
Ian Garry, you translucent cuck. You wanted my attention? Now you got it. Everybody knows why you want to fight me, Ian. I'm the biggest star in the division. It's big city, bright lights, and the most attention and eyes you're ever going to have on you when it fight. But everybody knows, Ian, you missed your chance. You had your chance in December to step on the same stage as me and have a microphone and say whatever you want to say to me. But you were scared. You were scared of what I was going to say to you, and you got the sniffles, and you cried your way out. That was just a taste of what I could do to you, Ian. All I did was ask the 5,000 people in attendance how many people banged your wife. It's not my fault every single one of them rose their hand. You just went life and death with a guy that does this part-time and is a busboy out back. Dude serves bloomin' onions for a living.
Okay, that's good. And you know what the funny thing is? Jeff Neal, if he saw this, he'd probably laugh at this too, because he does work at a restaurant outside of this. And this is good by Colby. Go after his past opponents. Talk about the things that Garry hasn't maybe done so well. Yes, he did beat Jeff Neal, but maybe not the most entertaining fight. Colby's smart for going after and talking about this, because Garry always talks about Colby's, lack of accomplishments, whether it's winning the welterweight, he never won the undisputed welterweight title. He hasn't, beat a ranked opponent technically right now. These are things that Garry's focused on. Colby's doing a good job kind of turning the focus now on Garry's past opponents as well.
And you went to a split decision with that guy? Now you want Donald Trump's favorite fighter? That's a big step up in competition, Junior. Let me teach you the art of the deal, Ian. Let's come to a compromise.
That's
if
funny.
You can meet these 3 stipulations, we got to fight. Stipulation number 1. You and that gold-digging whore got to turn your Instagram comments back on.
Good stuff
and if you
here.
Turn them off before the fight,
agree.
You forfeit the fight. If you turn them off during fight week or after I beat your ass, you forfeit your purse. Stipulation number 2. Layla, you got 60 seconds to convince me and the people why this fight needs to happen. So put your husband in the corner, get on your hands and knees, and beg. Now for stipulation number 3. Layla, you want to be a star? You want the spotlight? I got it for you, sweetie. You want your 15 seconds of fame, Layla? I'll give you your 15 seconds of fame right here for America's Pick of the Week. After I beat your husband, because that's a foregone conclusion, I will beat him. He's going to sit in the corner just like he does with all that cuck stuff you guys do, and he's going to watch while you get your 15 seconds of fame. Ball's in your court now, cuck boy. I'll have my lawyers draft up the papers. You got 24 hours to respond. We'll see if you're about that life. Greetings, nerd.
Okay, so a couple things on this. The stuff, going after the wife, I know that's, crossing the line, and I'm not like a huge fan of that, but that's sort of been a talking point with Garry, and he's put his wife there a little bit. So Colby doing all this is actually really smart. It's going to get people on his side. That's sort of one of the reasons that a lot of the fans don't like Garry, aside from some of the other stuff that he's done. I think overall this was well done. It should have been a little bit shorter. I think he should have just started with, like I said, him talking about Garry and going off of that. The stipulations, the first one I thought was good. The other two, his wife, doing a video and then his wife being in the promo. I mean, that's never going to happen, right? And I know some people have criticized Colby for this. I saw MMA's Joey's video kind of saying that this is a way for Colby to get out of the fight. Colby never once in this video said anything about, if you don't do this, I'm not going to fight you. So I don't get any indication that Colby doesn't want the fight. I just think he's trying to play up the whole, Garry's wife thing or whatever. And that's his way of promoting this fight. And honestly, there'll be people who watch this that think this is funny and it's a way to build it up. So I think overall, overall, Colby did a pretty good job here. Like I said, it just should have been a little bit shorter and maybe get rid of those 2 stipulations, maybe come up with something different. But I think overall, Colby did a good job here. So here is Ian Garry's response to Colby Covington, and we're going to watch that right now. He put this on Instagram.
You got 24 hours to respond.
I'll respond in my own time. Don't rush me.
So that was the first video that Garry had. Then he had a second video, which I actually missed in my video, which is why I've re-uploaded this. And this is actually a key piece of information here because Garry goes a little bit more in depth on Colby Covington. So I've only watched this like one time. So I'm going to give my thoughts on what Garry has to say in this video in his response to Colby Covington, a lot more in depth than the watch video he just did earlier.
Listen here, Colby Chaos Covington. You are in no position to tell me what I should be doing in life. You'll do as you're told. And
this is good. I gotta give him credit here.
You gave me 3 stipulations, all of which had nothing to do about fighting, but we're all talking about my wife.
Layla, get on your hands and knees and beg.
I don't know how you were raised, but women aren't property and my wife definitely ain't no trophy.
Well, okay, so a couple things about this. First off, he's doing this thing he does again where he's trying to play the victim and say, women aren't property. Yes, everybody knows that, but like that's not a way to sell the fight. You know, you don't say, I would never do this. You know, he's doing this whole angle of what he did on the MMA Hour where he's trying to say like, I can't imagine how people must, you know, be so obsessed with my personal life and all this different stuff. It's like, you're not going to win fans this way. Like, I don't like this angle. I don't know who's telling him to do this, but this is not going to win people over. And he just said his wife's not a trophy. Is he implying his wife's not good looking? Like, you know, a trophy wife is in some ways also a compliment. He's talking about how good looking she is. So Ian kind of shoots himself in the foot here, but I just think this is a bad angle saying like, I don't know how you were raised, but everyone knows that. Colby shouldn't be saying that, but attacking him and trying to act like this bigger man and trying to sell this fight, that's not going to sell well. So don't agree with the strategy at all from Ian Garry.
You should be focusing on me. I'm the one who's in that octagon with you. I'm the one who's going to punch a hole in your head. So stop swerving me and keep Layla's name out your mouth.
How many of you guys have Ian Garry's wife?
One kind of weird thing is, why is Ian Garry keeping all the clips of the worst things that Colby have said in this video? Like, do you want more attention on what Colby said? He's kind of doing that here, talking about Colby's line of asking the crowd of how many people have banged his wife. Like, to me, that's kind of weird. Why even keep that in there? You probably want, I would just keep it general and not even show the clip. It's almost like he's giving Colby more promotion here. I find that a little bit odd, honestly.
You're not America's favorite fighter. What you are is a peak underperformer. You're the only person in UFC history to lose 3 world title fights.
So good effort here by Garry, but he's actually wrong about this. Uriah Faber has also lost 3 UFC title fights. So Garry said he was the only one. I'll show it to you right here. UFC bantamweight title, Dominic Cruz lost that fight. Renan Barão lost that fight, and then fought Barão again, lost that fight, and actually fought Cruz a 4th time. So if anything, Uriah Faber, unfortunately, holds the record for having most title shots and not getting a UFC title. So Gary's a little bit wrong on that one. Small detail there, but come on, you got to tell the truth here. Do your research.
And you haven't got a single win against anybody in the top 15 right now. So Colby, why should I fight you? I can think of one reason. I challenge you to an I quit match where one of us has to say, I quit. And whoever says the words I quit has to retire. Gloves off, center of the octagon, sayonara, my friend. I'm going to be the final chapter in your legacy of failure.
Okay, so the I quit thing, kind of, I mean, this is sort of like a Chael Sonnen type shtick, like a pro wrestling thing. I mean, what if Covington beats Ian Garry? And mind you, it's, I guess you have to say I quit, but like, why put this on the table? Colby's at the end of his career anyways. Like, he would probably retire if he lost this fight anyhow. So why is Garry putting the stipulation in his fight? What happens if this backfires and Covington beats him and Covington, let's say, gets him in a submission? I'm not saying it'll happen because Colby really does not finish a lot of his opponents, but why even put that out there if there's a chance of you having to quit and retire? So I don't even think this is necessarily a good move. Listen, I like the fact that he focused on some of Colby's losses and talked about him being an underperformer, even though he did win an interim title. That's one thing he left out, but that's not going to work for the promo. But yeah, I think this response is a lot better than what we saw initially with Ian Garry. But again, the I quit thing, Garry hasn't finished a lot of his opponents, so it's going to be tough for him to do any sort of, damage here, especially with this fight being likely 3 rounds, not 5, depending on what they want to do with this matchup. I think this would be a pay-per-view fight, so it would be 3 rounds. So the chances of someone saying I quit in 3 rounds, probably not going to happen. But again, better effort here from Garry. Got to give him credit for it. And then Garry posting this video this morning. This I thought was well done.
But everybody knows, Ian, you missed your chance. You had your chance in December to step on the same stage as me.
Today, Junior.
Well done from Billy Madison. He did stutter a bit. You got to edit that out. I mean, that is one area where Gary's sort of taking advantage of that.
You know what? I'm a giving man.
And down!
I'm a kind man.
And down!
I like to give everyone a chance.
And down!
This is much better. He needs to do more stuff like this, and then people will get a little bit more interested. So again, overall, I think Colby did the better job here as far as calling him out. We still don't know if this fight's going to happen. I think this is a fight you absolutely do on International Fight Week. I talked about the UFC having problems trying to book big fights for that event. That's typically a marquee event for them. That to me makes a ton of sense. Get them both back in here. I don't know if either of them are dealing with anything right now. I don't think Colby or Gary are injured right now. They need to sort of focus on that. So I think this fight's got to happen. I just don't see a reason why they can't put it together for the two. I think for Colby, it's a good chance to win people back after that performance against Leon Edwards, which, again, was not great. At all. I mean, to put it mildly, it was just not a good fight. And I think Colby lost some fans with that. And conversely for Ian Garry, like and I've done plenty of videos on Ian Garry talking about why fans don't like him. I still get people saying, I can't believe people are going after him. Well, it's because of all the things he did attacking Magny, Luque, and Jeff Neal for no reason. That's why people don't like him. And then stuff like this, like the watch, like the response there, that's not going to win people over. This should have been the fight that they did for The Ultimate Fighter, the coaches. These two should have been coaching tough. That would have made way more sense, I think. If you're looking from it from a TV perspective, this would have done some great ratings, in my opinion. Colby just as a coach in general, I think would have been great. But maybe, again, there's a lot of reasons why they went with Grasso and Shevchenko, but either way, the UFC's got to put this fight together. I can't think of a fight that makes more sense for two guys. Like I said, with Gary, if he wins this fight and beats Colby, he might actually win some fans over because there's people who already don't like Colby, and then there's fans that don't like Colby because of the performance he had at 296. On the flip side, if Colby Covington wins this fight and they end up fighting, he's going to gain a lot of fans because there's people who just do not like Ian Garry. Like, even if Ian Garry wins this fight, there's still going to be people who don't necessarily like him. So I think it's a win-win for both fighters. Someone's going to get some fans from this fight, and it'll be interesting to see what happens if it does get put together. But like I said, we've got some time now. It's March 18th today. Let's put this fight together and let's put this one on International Fight Week. That's the one thing with International Fight Week the last couple of years. It's kind of been missing that big sort of buzz fight. And, we've had, in past events, we had obviously Volkanovski and Rodriguez last summer. We had, I think the summer before that, Adesanya and Jared Cannonier. Those are good fights, but this really has some sizzle to it as far as the personalities. And I think that's absolutely a no-brainer to put this fight together. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments section below. Who do you think won the battle of the responses between Colby and Ian Garry? I'm curious your thoughts. Again, I know this isn't everyone's favorite cup of tea in terms of how people are promoting themselves, but this is the reality of the sport right now and how people are trying to hype up a fight. So don't have an issue with that. Do you want to see this fight? And what's your pick in this fight? I see a lot of people writing Colby off after that last performance, and it certainly could be a case of he is on a decline right now. He's been out of the cage for a while. He's older. It could be a decline here, but also Colby's had one bad night at the office. He has a couple losses, but a lot of them were close fights. So I'm curious to see how this one plays out myself. So let me know what you think about the fight. Let me know what you think about the back and forth. And let me know what card you want to see this on and also who you think wins. That would be awesome. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.